Okay, so we'll get started. My name is Rosemary, and Alan and I are the co-hosts today. The recording for today's seminar will be on our YouTube site, our YouTube channel, and also on our website. So I'll put those links in the chat one or two times during the program today. Next month's seminar will be Ron Proctor, and he'll describe behind the Blender-based visualization at NSF NORLab. So it'll be exactly 4 weeks from today, except it'll be 3 hours later, which is 2 o'clock Pacific time. So we would really love for you to put your name and where you're from in the chat so we have a sign up. And I think it helps all of us get to know each other by doing that. So that would be great. There's no set time for the end. We'll try to stop about 1 hour from now and respect people who need to leave after an hour. And if you want to continue, we'll stay on as long as there's good discussion going on and Shanil is willing to stay. So Shanil is the Cosmic Engagement Specialist at the Astronomy Society of the Pacific. He's also an astronomer, science communicator, educator, podcaster, and a contributing editor on Medium, which, if you don't know, it's a social journalism platform. So, Chanel, I'll turn it over to you and you can get started.
Wonderful. And let me just start my slideshow. And can you just tell me what you see?
Looks like presenter mode.
Okay, so I thought. How about now?
That's good.
Okay. And then I want to see folks. So let me just get my Zoom. All right, beautiful. Have everything set up. Thank you very much for the opportunity and the invitation to share with you today a few tools, tips, and tricks I had to learn the last year as the Astronomical Society of the Pacific wanted to take advantage, of course, of emerging technology. I think it's fair to say that in the last 5 years, the way that public encounters science has changed more than in the previous 50. Planetariums, of course, sit at the intersection of trust, technology, and attention, and it has come to the point where we have to compete with all kinds of other noises, sources, and of course, influencers to gain attention. The world of social media, just from looking at the gallery, may be completely different today than what you remember. Alan, when we were talking, referenced that he was comfortable with social media in the previous millennium. And I think a lot of us were and had to be. And of course, the game has changed today, even for me. And the one of the themes that you're hopefully going to leave with is that I'm going to share with you some tips and tricks that I found, but the landscape is changing so quickly that what I'm telling you today may be obsolete in 3 years, 2 years, next year, right? It's just the half-life of technology seems to be about 6 months. And so that presents issues, presents opportunity, and there's possible solutions that we can talk to. So the outline of the brief conversation I hope to have is, why does this matter? And then we'll talk about solutions. And so, of course, before I joined the Astronomical Society of the Pacific, I was a planetarium director at James Madison University. It's in Central Virginia, about 2 hours west of DC. And of course, we had a planetarium, the John C. Wells Planetarium. And at the time, of course, it was a state-of-the-art hybrid. We had a Godo mechanical projector, and of course, we had a Evans and Sutherland Digistar 5. I think they've upgraded to 7, but we had a hybrid, and like when I was at our planetarium, as for many of you, typically planetariums are a one-person show. If you're at a university, you may have undergrad students that are helping with your presentations. If you're a standalone planetarium, you may have members of the community to help with presentations. But typically, it's a one-person show. And so that means you have to wear many hats and you have to be comfortable juggling many responsibilities. And of course, with regards to advertising and getting word out about your events, whether it's a new show that's coming to your planetarium, whether it's a public talk of somebody coming to speak at your planetarium or some other event. Of course, planetariums now are truly immersive spaces, and you have all kinds of events taking place from poetry readings, music under the stars, and of course, meditation practices that sometimes happen. We did this at the university during the workday for folks to be able to have a break from their daily grind. And so the consequence of that is that if you know how to leverage or know how to use social media, then you can get the word out. You can get folks attending, participating. And of course, this is critical because for those that, charge an admission fee, that drives revenue. For those that have a program or a, lifelong giving or other ways of generating revenue, you want to grow your base. All of this matters, right? All of this matters in creating this sample of people that then can support your planetarium, your facility. And what I've seen in the last 5 years or so, if you just do a look at Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, etc., you see some facilities, you don't see others, and that's of course a function of many things. One is that there may be facilities that know how the algorithm works and can take advantage of it, right? So when you look up planetariums on Facebook, Instagram, etc., you see those coming up. Others may not even be online. Even more so, it could be the case that they don't know how to take advantage. They may have a Facebook page, they may post their events on their Facebook page, and that was a great idea and worked fantastically well in 2005. It doesn't work in 2026. Right? And so that's what we're going to talk about today and how to do this. And so I want to kind of democratize this to level the playing field so that all of our domes in all of our communities are made available to our local members so that they can participate, attend, and learn. And so, this cliche, is a little trite, but I really do believe that a rising tide lifts all boats. And so it's not about being or having a leg up. It's about making sure we all survive. Now, just looking in this room, and what do we have? Something like 20 folks. We have a range of backgrounds and probably experiences. Some that know and use these tools, these tricks, and some that are still thinking Facebook is social media. And Facebook was great again in 2005. Of the social media platforms today, it's probably the least important. And so we'll talk about that too. So in order to get a good sense of just where everyone is, I'm going to use one of the tools that the ASP uses and when we do our Learn workshops, and that's to get engagement. And I need to open an app. Just bear with me so I can see my toolbar. I'm going to stop sharing. And then more. There it is. And I need to pick this seminar on. And for those that want to know how we're doing this, I'm happy to talk about it too. I'm just waiting for this robot to enter. There I am. I didn't clone myself. Let's allow that. Now, Alan, Rosemary, can one of you tell me what you see?
It looks good.
Okay. So the way I love this, then rather than just doing it in Zoom, A, is that I get a copy of it. I can get some analytics, I can get the data. And B, it just works off the chat. So as you see in the bottom middle of of the screen, it says just type in the Zoom chat. And so on the left, you'll see four numbers, 1 through 4, and you can pick between four different options. So if you're a very comfortable social media user, you can press, oh, you know what? I just realized we're at the end. I want to go back to, well, we kind of already did that. Let's start here. And you guys already put your where you're joining us in the chat, so we don't have to reproduce that. But let's start here. Do you have an advertising budget? One or two? We're at 14, 15. We're at 21, but if we subtract Alan, Rosemary, and I, that leaves 18. So, all right, 16. That's good. We're almost everyone. So, um, almost 2/3 of our gallery today does not have a budget. About a third do. And social media, and of course, advertising on social media kind of levels this playing field in the sense that that's great if you have an advertising budget, but if you don't know how to leverage the budget and don't know how to create different vehicles to drive engagement, then it doesn't really matter because no one's going to see it. On the contrary, you can have no budget, but if you understand the platforms, the algorithms, and how they work, or to be able to at least take advantage of a couple, then you don't need a budget because you can just get in a habit of doing maybe one, two, or three things, and that's going to drive engagement and audiences to your facility. So, in some respects, it is somewhat independent. Of course, there are some facilities, national facilities, that have full teams, and that's a different ballgame. Now, this question asks you, how do you currently advertise your programming? And it may be four different ways. So if you have four different options, put one per line, but you just type in the chat. So, you use MailChimp, say, for example, to reach your email base. You may have a website. You may have a Facebook page, right? So all the different ways that you use currently. And of course, as folks enter their responses, you'll see what's coming down. It kind of is like Tetris. I remember Tetris. It's old enough. We're old enough to remember that game too. So, okay, so let's see. Facebook, yeah, constant contact, listservs, websites, newsletter, no programming. Thank you, Jason. So this is useful just for, our group of planetarians, just to see carrier pigeon. Yeah. That's great you've upgraded, Kyle. I used smoke signals. That doesn't work anymore either. Uh, but it's good for everyone to see this is the diversity and range, right? And again, um, carrier pigeons is fine. It just may not drive attendance, and doing everything may be fine, but that's going to lead you to white hair like I have. So somewhere in the middle is a just right solution. So we're going to talk about that. And now we'll go to that last question. So you can now, if you're already answered, fine, you can re-answer as well. Just how comfortable are folks in our audience today? Kyle, is that MySpace? Is that you? I can't see. Oh, that's it. Okay, looks like it's plateauing. That's fine. So half, roughly half, comfortable. Well, maybe 2/3 say comfortable to very comfortable. And then about another third, somewhat to not so much. And that's good too. For the very comfortable, then I think this is not going to be useful. You already know what I'm going to share. I'm going to stop sharing this. This was useful for us to get some kind of data just on the makeup of the room. And I'm going to go back to my slides. And again, Rosemary, Alan, are we
Looks
back?
good. Looks
Looks
good.
good. Okay. Oh, so why does this matter? Like, why does the visibility of where you are, how you use it, and what tools you employ, why does it matter? It's because a lot of us grew up in a time, in an age where maybe posting on a search engine was useful, or maybe a website was useful, or emails, and then maybe Facebook in 2005, 6. And what's happening now, as you all know, of course, is just this emergence and pervasiveness of AI. It's become ubiquitous and it has many different tentacles, all the way from AI-enabled browsers like Perplexity, which is a standalone AI browser, to even now ChatGPT and other tools having their own. Even Google has their own AI tool now built in. And so in the age of AI, where it is, of course, scraping data from the internet, if you don't know how it is doing that data collection, if you don't know how it's scraping that data, that's going to be a disadvantage to you. It's going to be a disadvantage to you because when people go to these various tools to ask, where's my nearest planetarium? What is a show happening? If they don't know you already, right? They don't know to go to your website. But if they're using a chat GPT or an AI tool like Perplexity, your content is not going to come up. And that's a disservice because we want science front and center. So they're not gatekeepers. And what has also happened in parallel is, Google, of course, and Safari, the Apple product, and Google Chrome, and all these other browsers, of course, are now recognizing that there's even now a fragmentation of how we get data in the sense that we went to a browser and maybe entered a string to get some collection of pages that may or may not help us answer a question. Today, it's going to ChatGPT or Claude or whatever AI tool you want to name. I'm trying not to advertise the same two, but I don't know the whole landscape. But you may go to an AI tool. And of course, for the younger generation, this is the case. My kids are 17, 14, and 12. And of course, we've had a lot of conversations about AI, as many of you have too, with younger kids, school-age kids, about how to use it, when to use it, how to check their answers. For teachers, of course, for public or for K-12 teachers, they have a whole other issue about getting students to do their own homework rather than an AI tool for doing that. That's a whole separate discussion and question. It's just the idea, of course, the knowledge that we know that this is being used. And so in the case of getting our content into these tools, we have to know how to optimize. Well, we first maybe need to talk about the ways to get it discovered, but even then in discovering our content, there is an optimization that comes so that we can find. I'm going to go quickly over this. So of course, if I say SEO, just by a show of hands, you can use the thumbs up. I can see the gallery. If I say SEO, who knows what that means? And again, this is right, the three most powerful words in science. I don't know. All right, maybe a little bit. I see a lot of thumbs up. Maybe those that don't are reluctant or shy, and that's fine. SEO stands for search engine optimization, right? And if you had a website, the next iteration you may have learned is, well, I got to know how to optimize my HTML. I need to know how to optimize the back end of my website so that Google, for example, could find it. And you may have heard or learned, I need to put tags. I need to put this metadata in the header. Initially, this became for the HTML savvy, but if you use Wix or WordPress, or you have a standalone vendor that does your website, they may have even made a very nice user interface where you can specify keywords, and it does the encoding on the back end. And again, that worked for the last 20 years. No, until 2020. So the first 20 years of this millennium, as before the age of AI. And so what's happening now, of course, is that these websites are getting scraped by AI. And of course, how we interact with knowledge also matters in the sense that email and websites are late 20th century technology. Emails and websites are late 20th century technology, right? We're 25 years into this new millennium. And so that means our tools have to reflect the age in which people are consuming data and getting their data. And unfortunately, what this means, people don't read. Even writing a 4-sentence post becomes difficult. We live in a time where people consume news, information, events via video, right? You've seen it become ubiquitous. And there are many metrics and data studies that can tell you more about it, but you've seen this probably firsthand anecdotally. So we need to compete with that. So the first thing we're going to do, I've talked enough, 20 minutes, is we're going to do a breakout room. I'm going to stop sharing. And Rosemary, do you have the link handy?
Yes, I'll pop it in.
So while she's doing that, let me tell you how this will work. And I see my colleague Tony is joining the call, of course. Fantastic. I know Tony's involved in the leadership of PPA as well. And so Tony's going to know this very well because this is what we do in our Learn sessions. We try to use Stream Alive. That was that integration engagement software at the beginning to make this a discussion and a conversation rather than a one-way dialogue. And then we try and do breakout rooms where we try to preserve what is shared, what is discussed, because we want to leverage the knowledge of everyone in the room. And so as you see, there's a link. If you've clicked on it and opened it, that's fine. But if you haven't, that's better, because what Rosemary will do now is let's see, we got 24, say subtract Alan, Rosemary, and mine, that's 3. So I don't know, Rosemary, maybe 5 rooms of 4.
Sure.
And then when you go into the room, you want to go to that link. So at least if one of you, or you don't know which group it is, so maybe all of you can click on the link now and at least open that document. And when you open that document, you'll see on the left-hand side is a series of tabs, and it goes room 1 to room 10. When you get assigned to a room, you're going to go to the tab with that number. So if you get assigned to room 3, you'll go to room 3 on the tab. Room 1 will go to the first tab, etc. And then you will see a question at the top. And Rosemary's also kindly put it in the chat where it says, what are some strategies you currently employ to advertise your programming? So this is good to get a baseline. And so in your group of 4, maybe have one of you assign the role or volunteer the role of note taker. So only one person has to write in the document the different ideas that emerge in your breakout room, but it'd be good to get a collection of what folks are doing right now. And so Rosemary, I've been trying to stall enough for you to get the rooms ready. Are we good?
Yeah, I'm ready to go. Do you want to tell us how long you want the room to last?
So let's do 7 minutes and maybe we'll do a 2-minute heads up, Rosemary, when we
That's
close the
fine.
room, and then we'll come back and then we'll share.
Okay, thanks.
Excellent.
I think everyone's here.
Wonderful. So let's just take a few minutes because this is being recorded and there may be colleagues that will view the recording. Could one person in each room just maybe briefly summarize the discussion and the different ways that the folks in your room advertise or employ? And we'll start, let's say, with how many rooms did we have, Rosemary?
We
5?
had 5. Yeah.
Let's start with 5. We'll go the inverse.
That would be me. And so we had 3 different environments other than my being retired. And so one is a portable dome environment where they use local publications, relatively small community. Another one is a community college environment where they use a community calendar, the constant contact product, Facebook and LinkedIn, handing out flyers, even making sure you add information about the facility to Google Maps.
Mm.
Uh, and they use YouTube to run trailers. And for a school environment, they have a protocol where they do word of mouth to other schools and directly to parents, which is their primary audience. And they've done newspaper, radio, and TV in the past, but they use YouTube somewhat during COVID.
Okay, very good. That's very comprehensive. Room four?
I can speak for room four unless, oh, Ryan, did you want to?
No, I was saying, take it away, Tony.
Okay, great. So I work at the ASP with Chanel, but I also work here at the Washington State University Planetarium a couple times a month to do some shows. Just happened to be in here this morning, actually. And we do like organic Facebook posts and events for our things. We don't put money behind it, as far as I know. I don't do any of the advertising for us, so this is just kind of what I have gleaned happens that other folks do when they have time. Nobody is full-time focused on our planetarium, also, which I think matters a little bit. This is all kind of done by folks who have time. We use community calendars and occasionally remember to plug into the university calendar. And that's about it for what we're doing here at WSU. Frank at TELUS World of Science in Edmonton was talking about their social media advertising and through radio and TV, as well as some print, but have a 6-person marketing department for the whole science center. So kind of a couple ends of the spectrum, I think, right? Where there's only a couple of us in a very disorganized planetarium here at Wazoo, and then, you know, established science center in a bigger city. And then Ryan with DomeFest West talked about Google ads, but it's not always very effective. But the email newsletter that he uses for folks who had attended events has been pretty effective, and some Facebook and Instagram ads.
Excellent. Thank you, Tony. Room three?
Hey, Amy or Carlos, you want to take the lead?
Sure, I can do it. So we had a great conversation. Uh, we do a lot of word of mouth, Google search results. So visitors are coming in and saying, yes, I heard about you, because I Googled for planetariums. My college, the community college where I work, has a PR person, so she sends out press releases monthly. We talked about using Facebook, Instagram posts, Blue Sky, X, getting into local communities groups. So like Carlos is talking to a Rotary group locally, and that can help. Or doing professional development for the schools in your area, the charter schools. And if you can get the leaders in, that's great, because they'll disseminate it out. If you can get them excited about what you do, they'll pass that on. Other online calendars, like in New Jersey, we have patch.com, or county tourism calendars. And along with social media, if you've got some maybe young people doing
Yep.
TikTok for you or any other kind of Instagram posts. But yeah, getting a reel, some kind of moving visual rather than just a static image that says what your shows are is helpful.
Exactly. Thank you, Amy. Room two?
Okay. Some of the things I guess we all do about social media posts, Facebook, Instagram. At my science center, and Mike Francis also mentions, we sometimes boost Facebook posts.
Mm-hmm.
In Alaska, radio is still going strong. I heard so. Omega told us they also advertise on the radio. On my science center, we also have for larger events, we advertise for full page on the local newspaper, but they also have every day a small section there, like things happening locally today in the city, and we are always featured there. Um, even our regular programming always shows there. Um, we also have a weekly newsletter, one for the general public, another one for schools, specifically for schools. It was mentioned also on the group chat, Facebook videos, and advertising on a bus.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Thank you,
I,
Dario. Oh,
I hope I didn't forget anything.
we'll do a summary, in fact, of the different strategies in all five rooms. So don't worry, it'll all get collected. Thank you, Dario. Room one.
I guess I'll take it.
Thank you,
Um,
Sarah.
no problem. All right. So, many of the things that people have mentioned already.
Hmm.
I have had some students who have done some TikTok dabbling. We Mike Murray mentioned CTV, which is something that he
Hmm.
learned about recently, connected television ads and billboards. I oftentimes send out just a quarter sheet with all my school groups to send home with them, just on the off chance that they might share it with their parents.
Exactly. Yeah.
And yeah, a lot of press releases and things like that using university media to help advertise things, or even talking about a journalism class that could maybe do internship or something like that. So um, and also NPR/PBS affiliates. So trying to connect
Excellent.
to them
Yeah.
as well.
Okay. I'm going to go back to the slides. Uh, but I think this was a great overview of the different strategies employed at different planetariums across North America. So it's great that we have somebody joining us today in Edmonton. Go Oilers! Not that you can tell, but I'm a transplanted Canadian. My team sucks, so I'm not going to say them. But of course, what you heard is just this complete range. And again, it's also a reflection that there is no one size fits all. Different different strategies will work in different places. Some of them are top-down approaches, right? Press release, having a PR person at the university, community college, maybe the larger science center, being able to get the word out. Some are bottom up, like Carlos speaking at a Rotary Club. Others mentioned going to classes. I think Sarah in her room had mentioned about, putting notes with, or, a flyer, or at least a sheet of paper going home with kids to their parents, and maybe they read it and maybe not, right? It's going to be some linear combination of these different ways that's going to work for you. And so one of the most important things I think of just today's discussion is for you to just to see those different ways. And so there may be things that are low hanging for you to now do that maybe you hadn't thought of that you can try, or maybe just didn't know altogether. There may be strategies you're using, but not seeing the results. So maybe you try something else. I will just share two other that I don't think was heard, and forgive me if somebody mentioned it. But what I employed at JMU, or James Madison University, when I was the planetarium director there, is, this is a small community, so it's not going to necessarily apply, for the larger urban cities just because of the population density. But if you're in a small, maybe rural environment, small town, or at least have maybe access to, the local TV station, one of the most successful strategies I found for us is just developing a relationship with the local news folks. And that served many different purposes. One is that you are identified as, the kind of local science expert. And they often will come to you now, right? If there's a meteor shower, if there's some new discovery, or whatever it is, some alien has been discovered. Who knows, right? They can come to you and get a soundbite. But also, then when they have event calendars, because you've developed a relationship, they're going to now be able to highlight or plug. Maybe you have a Mystery of the Christmas Star, right? That's a particular show that for us was very successful between Thanksgiving and Christmas Eve. For us and where I was and or still am actually, but for JMU in the Valley, of course, it is conservative socially and politically. And we wanted to invite every member of the community into the dome and not be excluding folks. And that Christmas Star program was a great way of inviting folks. And so you get that kind of advertisement. The NPR, I think Amy or Sarah, one of you mentioned, I think is another great way. The local NPR station in where I was at JMU was also run by JMU. And so that made it easy then to maybe do a 90-second. So you may have seen in the bio, there's Our Island Universe. It's a podcast that I hope that's how it started. I just wanted to share stories about what we know in astronomy, why it matters, who gets to do it, and how does it fit in. And that was something they were really keen on doing, and that took off, right? It's just having conversations. So there's different ways, and I encourage you to try these different ways. But the big point, especially for us that are wedded to tools of the 20th century, late 20th century, is this idea of just having organic posts, organic ways of just getting the information out there and hoping it reaches the audience. That just is not work. It doesn't work and is working even less, right? Because it has to be cultivated and curated. And the thing that most people don't say is that very much so today, it's pay to play, right? You put money in, you'll get your message out. I think some folks mentioned sponsored posts, for example. I will show you an example how we at the ASP have used that. And it's better than, say, not doing so, but you have to have intention. So that means understanding the demographic you want to reach, the interest you want to reach. You know, there is a button for those that do sponsored posts on Meta that says, you know, it sends the post out to your followers. And this drives me nuts, right? Because if they're following our page already, it's like, what the heck? You should be already getting this message, right? So that already tells you that even people that follow your page don't get your post. There's some algorithm that they employ as to who sees it. I would encourage you to not choose that option, by the way, people that follow your page. There's another option is that people reach people like the people that follow your page. That's better because that's reaching new people. Or it's a custom. And that custom is there's a way to split this demographic on whom you reach, how you, what groups, what people, age, gender, maybe, or even socioeconomic factors. And this may seem, okay, this is a lot more work. But one of the strategies that I employed when having to do this for the ASP, I'm a big fan of working smarter, not harder. Becomes a contentious topic amongst even our staff. I like using ChatGPT. The very strategies I'm going to share with you that may look very overwhelming, I didn't write the code. I didn't come up with them. I used ChatGPT to help me, and then I based it off on that. Okay, so and I'll show you examples of that. So that's understanding the play to pay. We talked about that. So I'm going to show you one example, and oh, there's a well, some of my slides are missing. Anyway, we'll start there. This past fall, in partnership with Unistellar, which is a smart telescope vendor, we wanted to launch a new series of workshops. And really what we were trying to tap into is, of course, these smart telescopes, whether it's the C-Star from ZWO, the Unistellar brand, the Vonus or Dwarfret. There's the proliferation now of these smart telescopes, and they're really become revolutionary and game-changing because you can now do astronomy in light-polluted urban areas. High school students can now do project-based science. And astronomy teachers can now teach astronomy not by lecture or PowerPoint like what I'm doing, but by having students go and acquire their own data and then analyze their own data and then conclude whether it's Kepler's third law or these other kinds of relationships, right? It's become just this groundbreaking, game-changing way. And so we said, let's try and see if we can do a series of workshops for those that have the Unistellar brand in particular, Why Unistellar? It's just because they were local to the Bay Area where ASP is headquartered. I didn't say this at the beginning, even though I work for the Astronomical Society of the Pacific, I do not live in San Francisco. I do not live in California. And just as Tony mentioned, he's in northeastern state area of Washington State. And I'm in Central Virginia. We both work remotely for the ASP. And so, this idea of like how do we reach folks? It wasn't working just by it wasn't sufficient to just put it on our ASP website. It wasn't sufficient to just put it on our Facebook page and other social platforms because we saw zero enrollment. Not low, zero. Zero. And so what did we do? Because it's not the case that there was no interest. It's that we realized off the bat, so we're not getting our message. And so we employed various strategies. Some bottom-up strategies is just leveraging the network, leveraging the partnership. So, we asked, and Unistellar agreed, that they were going to now broadcast this opportunity with their network of people via email, newsletters, and socials. We did a sponsored post on Facebook and Instagram. With Meta now, you can do it across both platforms. And this led to actually full capacity in the fall. We had 30 spots. I was going to say we only. 30 was the largest workshop we've done. Tony, correct me, paid. Tony, correct me if I'm wrong. Right, but we had filled that up with all spots with paid participants, and so that was very successful. One of the questions we asked them in sort of our pre-survey, just to kind of get a sense of how they heard about the opportunity, is had they heard of the ASP? It kind of was a proxy question for that. So of the 30 folks, 2/3, so 20 people, participants had never heard of the ASP, which was shocking for us too. Astronomical Society of the Pacific is the oldest national astronomy organization in the United States. Astronomical Society of the Pacific is the oldest national astronomy organization in the United States, and 2/3 of these folks that have bought a $4,000 telescope, the high end of the Unistellar brand, had never heard of the ASP, right? And so this should be maybe a big warning for a lot of you folks too, is that we think we have a footprint, maybe a large, maybe a small, but we have a footprint. Chances are, unless you're doing something strategically and intentionally, you may not have the footprint you think. So what did we use? We had, I'm going to just put this, go back here. So we use sponsored posts. And one of the things with Facebook in particular is you have the option of using a new tool, which is called Facebook Pixel. I'm going to do this again, just by looking show of hands. Who knows and has used? And again, if you don't know what it is, then that's a great answer. But just a thumbs up, thumbs down. Great. So this is a lot of thumbs down. Beautiful. I love this, right? It's like doing a clicker question with students. You don't want a clicker question with 80% knows the right answer. It's a waste of a clicker question. For me, I always loved clicker questions where the distribution was flat because you had some people that knew it, some people that didn't, but there was just mass confusion, right? That's great because now you can teach, now you can learn. So Facebook Pixel is one of these newer tools that kind of serves the middle ground in that you can use sponsored posts, but if your website allows you to there's a special code, but if you have access or Facebook Pixel is integrated into your website, it's keeping track of who clicks the ad on Facebook, comes to your website, and then whether they come to your website, if they then go and check out, right? They buy the product, they buy the tickets, or they sign up for express an interest, right? It's that follow through. They're measuring the follow through. And for those that don't follow through, don't purchase tickets, don't sign up for the workshop, don't RSVP for the event, you have that now smaller sample and it follows up with those folks. You can set it up automatically to follow up. Hey, I saw you came to our website, you were interested in this event A, but you didn't check out. Would you like to do this now? You may have seen these emails. That's Facebook Pixel, but it's pay to play, right? So you have to be cognizant of that. And it's also a function of whether or not your website supports it. Astronomical Society of the Pacific, our vendor, we use a private website vendor, does not. So it became difficult to do this. And so for some programs, like a new AI program we've launched, Astro Verify, we actually bought a domain name, but it points back to an ASP landing page, but that separate domain allowed us to put this kind of stuff. Now, I know this is sounds very complicated, tedious, and becomes exhausting to now know all of these strategies. And I'm going to tell you some examples of how to do that at the end. This is an example of just something we launched this week. I don't know, is Tony still on? I don't see him. All right, that's fine. So Tony and I teach a Stellarium workshop for educators. How do you use Stellarium with students? It's not how to use Stellarium, it's how to use Stellarium in class so that if you don't have a planetarium, how do students get that planetarium experience and collect data from Stellarium to be able to understand the science or the astronomy you're teaching. So the content is not so important. It's what we did. This is even new from last year. We've learned from the way the algorithms work, they want photos. They want photos of faces, right? So this is new from a version we did last summer where we didn't have photos of Tony and I. We had the stuff that matters. The title, the description, the dates, the times, right? You can see this is now taking prime real estate because that's what the algorithm prefers. The way we post has changed in 8 months. 8 months. So what does that mean? So this is the text, and you can see I just took it from a post we did yesterday. This is boilerplate text. But notice there is no link. There is no dates. There is no cost specified in the original post because the algorithm on Meta downvotes, downplays those kinds of posts. They don't want you leaving their platform, right? Facebook, Instagram, they want you hooked and staying on Facebook and Instagram. And so you'll see this more and more, may have already seen it, that this last line then says the details are in the first link below. And the first link has our registration because that's now going to be able. Now, this is not a sponsored post, by the way, right? This is just a free post using our social media, but it's an example of how you have to kind of game the system. So I'm going to skip this because we had a good response. I'll put the link in the summary. Oh, let me go just back here. So these keywords and the tags and the metadata that you may already be doing with your SEO, search engine optimization on your website, or having the vendor do it, maybe just specifying tag words and keywords, all matter. The alt text, by the way, if you post an image, there sometimes is that field to be able to specify the text for those that may be blind or low vision impaired. And often the tendency is to skip it. Maybe that we don't have any followers. That is a very small fraction of the people that follow us. This is another variable that gets upvoted if you've specified it in their algorithm. So it's not a matter of whether you have followers or patrons that are blind and low vision. It's the way the algorithm works. So we just copy and paste the same text that goes in the top Facebook text. We put it here. Same text.
Chanel, let's just pause for a second. And if anybody needs to leave and you want to say goodbye, that's fine. I'm going to put the links for the website and the YouTube channel where we'll have the recording, and we'll have some other information posted there as well. Probably some resources that Chanel will provide afterwards.
Yeah, just before folks leave, there's a summary document, a one-page document. Thank you, Rosemary, for reminding me to say that Rosemary and Alan will share with all of you. So you'll get some of these tools, some of the links, so you don't have to write everything down. We'll provide that for you. And I'm going to skip this to this Jason. So this is yet another new thing. And this is important because this is now how AI tools are getting your content. And these are headers that go in your HTML. And let me show you an example. Okay, so yeah, this is a good point. So what is JSON? So JSON is a JavaScript way of specifying keywords. You can it's pronounced JSON, but think of it as a recipe book for robots. A recipe book for robots. So you have a landing page on your website for, maybe a new planetarium show, a public speaker, some other event, and you put that on, you create a website. It's what you put in the keywords. And so this again is that unistellar workshop, and this is probably not legible, I realize. And I don't, the specific lines aren't even so important. It's the fact that these are keywords. This is data that goes in the header. So the user, the person visiting your page, doesn't see it. And I'll put this as an example because it's just useful to see. What's specified here is the date, the time, who's doing it. So this was in collaboration with Unistellar and the ASP. And then keywords, astronomy, telescope, workshop, the kinds of things that allow you to reach the audiences you were. But you look at this, and the reason why I posted it this way is you look at this and you go, oh my gosh, that is overwhelming, because it is. That's a lot of data, a lot of details. I don't know how to do that. I didn't make that. I didn't make that. I went to ChatGPT and said, I've created a website for this thing A, in this case, a workshop, and I need a set of header keywords that would be useful for AI to be able to find it and provide it to users that looked. And it generated that code. I just copied and pasted into my header. I didn't write it. You want to check it to make sure it's got the details, right? Right dates, right times, right cost, right location, right partners, et cetera, et cetera. But I didn't write it. It comes for AI. This is an example where, we can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. I get the opposition AI. I share your concerns too, but work smarter, not harder. And so this is from the free version, by the way. I didn't have to pay to get it to do that. So I did, yeah. So again, this was the same results that it helped us get. For the other third that hadn't heard of the ASP, but also found the workshop, was through AI. It was coming back from what Perplexity. So schema.org, this is the website that walks you through more. The video I skipped over allows you to, it's a short primer. I was putting these different tools with purpose because it also tells you the kind of approach I took, not knowing any of this 8 months ago. I went to YouTube and asked, what is JSON? What is schema? What is SEO? How do I do this? Right? And there are short little videos that walk you through. YouTube's a great resource to kind of learn these kinds of tools and then know how to do it. Well, I don't know how to write code. I asked ChatGPT to do it. Right? So this is what this is the new era of how do you get your message out. So these large language models, ChatGPT, Grok, DeepSeek, all whatever, they're pulling the schema, that JSON keywords from your website. And if this is not specified, AI is not going to know it. Now, that's not quite true because if you have a Wikipedia page, this turns out to be very important too, because it's pulling your information from your Wikipedia page. And I encourage you to go to Wikipedia and look up Astronomical Society of the Pacific. This is a private group, so I'll tell you the answer. It's piss poor. It's not very good. It's certainly a reflection of ASP circa end of the last century, last millennium, right? It hasn't been updated because we're resource starved, labor starved too. But one of the things we've got an intern, and this is a great tool or a great way to leverage students that are wanted to do this kind of work. They're updating our Wikipedia page. And that becomes a very important, because if you don't do the JSON, that schema, having Wikipedia at least is useful for AI to scrape. So there's a lot of different tools. I didn't get a chance because this is just an introduction, but Opus Clips is another program AI tool. We have, again, our Learn workshops are usually 60 to 90 minutes. We don't put that on YouTube because we want folks coming back to re-register for other classes, or if they want to watch the recording asynchronously, they can for a small fee instead of free on YouTube. But how do we get the word out for recordings? We don't want to post the full thing. Opus Clips is an AI tool that will take the long form video and break it up into 60-second segments. 90-second segments. I think Sarah mentioned that she had maybe some of her students or docents, volunteers that were able to make video. This is a great way to make video. Remember coming back to how reading, folks don't read, especially the younger generation. This is a great way to make video to then post on TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts. And it's not labor intensive. All I do is upload the MP4 of our recording and it spits out. Now, of course, there is a learning curve. You have to know how to make an account, how to do the upload and how to download, etc. I'm going to put this up because I think the most important thing now is to have this conversation and to come back to how we started and why this matters is because we have gotten to this point as a society, right, where experts is downvoted largely. All right, experts don't matter, facts don't matter, evidence doesn't matter. Forgive me if that is political, but that's just the way it is. But your stories, the stories you tell about science, about astronomy, the different cultures that viewed the night sky and how they decoded, how they learned these patterns, they deserve to be told because this is how we bridge that disconnect. And so this has been an exercise on how to make that, how to relate your stories to the community at large. And the second bullet point is the most important too, is that it may feel like I have to do all of this. And I don't think that's true. You're not an island unto yourself. You don't have to do this. I think one of the strategies that I'm going to suggest that we as a community do is, rather than individual domes and rather than even regional planetarium societies, I think this should be the purview and responsibility of the IPS, just as we have an education committee and other committees, subcommittees that are responsible for different charges. Because this landscape of advertising and social media is changing, and it's changing so quickly, if you wanted to do it individually, of course, nothing is stopping you. Of course, go to town. But it's the fact that these tools and what I told you today may be obsolete in 6 months or a year, right? And that's hard to keep pace with. But if we had a subcommittee that was keeping track and then communicating it to our community of planetarians, I think that's a great way to leverage that expertise and that knowledge. And I think this last piece is, how do we keep the conversation going? This is a question that Alan asked while you were in the breakout room. And I didn't answer it for Alan because I wanted to share it and make sure it's in the recording. One of the tools that we're realizing even at the ASP for our Learn workshops is even though we have a website, even though we have a live Zoom class, even though we have the resources available online, what our teachers, the formal educators that come to our workshops want is a way to still have the communication, to have that contained and allowed to continue long after the Zoom workshop. How do you do that? Another tool that's reflective of the 21st century is Slack and Discord. So I think another strategy for us as a community would be that we have a Slack or Discord. We can do a survey in terms of comfortability or use, but we have these kinds of forums that make it easy. You may already be using Slack at your university or college, so the buy-in may be low. If you don't use it, then maybe that's a learning curve we have to bridge, or maybe some other tool. But I think there has to be a way, not Facebook, not the Dome dialogues, because again, that's going to limit participation and visibility. Not Dome-L, because that's email based. And again, that's going to then tell us the demographics that's going to use Facebook or the demographic that's going to use email. Right? So this is why I'm suggesting that we use these tools. And then as I mentioned before, I'll summarize some of the tools and some of the key important ones that you can look at. This last one is just me on Medium. As Rosemary said, I like writing not just about astronomy, but why astronomy matters and how different cultures approached these patterns they decoded. And rather than giving you some long URL that you'll never remember, Carl Sagan was my hero, still is to this day. And so I borrowed his star stuff and I just added the rights at the end, star stuff rights. That's a clean, easy way. I'm going to stop sharing. Oh, thank you, Rosemary, Alan. I'm going to stop sharing because I think for those that have the time and want to have the discussion, I think it's great. And I think Alan, Rosemary, I think if you can record it, I think that would be also really useful because then for folks that want to go back, if they left early, they can also get the conversation. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience, and thanks for attending.
Right. Let's, if you want to unmute. and give Chanel a nice big round of applause, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Or do they?
It's gotta be right up there with one of our best seminars.
Oh,
Thanks.
thank you,
Thanks.
Alan. I appreciate that.
So there's a lot of information. I'm sure there's
Yes.
a lot of questions, and you can put questions in the chat, or you can just raise your hand and we'll get going.
And especially if you think a IPS subcommittee would be useful, I think that's also good to know because it's going to take a lot of folks championing the idea to get it done. You know, one of the things I told Alan and Rosemary as we did the rehearsal, oh, thank you, Martin, that we talked about yesterday or the day before is like this should be a short column in the Planetarium, and I'll write a short column, maybe 4 or 5 pages, so a little bit more than just a one pager of some of these ideas. So at least some of this is um, contained and communicated to the larger network of planetariums. But I really do think a subcommittee is what we need.
I agree, actually, I was trying to think of what category does this fit into any of the existing IPS committees, and I can't think of,
Right.
doesn't come to me.
Because we're island universes, right? We individually have to bridge and figure it out. And that may have worked in 1999. It doesn't work in 2025, 2026, excuse me.
Um, so Sarah had a comment. She's not here right now about Pixel. She
Yeah.
thought it may have changed its name to Metapixel.
I believe it has. This is a great example of how just December to January.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could you say a little bit about, I didn't quite understand, is that somehow you use that aspect and it goes both to Instagram and Facebook? Is that
So,
correct?
right. Have you done a sponsored post on Facebook before, Rosemary?
No.
Okay. And that's fine too. Maybe I should have put an image, and maybe in the article for the Planetarium, I'll put an image of what that looks like. But when you do a sponsored post on Meta or Facebook, which goes to then Facebook and Instagram, right, you get to select the audience that it will go to. You specify how much money you want to spend per day. You specify how many days you want it to be advertised to the demo that you pick. The other option in that sponsored post is, do you want to use Facebook Pixel? So yes, no. And if you pick yes, there'll be a code that it spits out. It's that code that you then go to your website. And if it has that Facebook or Meta Pixel integration, it'll ask you for that code. And then you put that code in your website. And that's how it communicates from Meta to your website. And when they get to your website, are they checking out? Right? Because then they're tracking. We're surveilled and tracked every second of our lives, it seems. And that's a way of it tracks who comes to your website and whether they purchase or sign up or whatever you want them to do.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Carl. It's just I would say it's a fire hose. If it felt like a fire hose and you're drinking from it, that's how I felt last summer. And just little by little, you start putting these pieces of the puzzle together. And that's what I wanted to share.
I was thinking not in terms of a planetarium, but in terms of a planetarium organization like PPA.
Right.
What should we be doing in terms of social media or whatever? Actually, I hesitate to even say social media because from what you're saying, social media is uh, not necessarily last millennium, but last couple of decades.
It's not so much social media, it's the different tools in that umbrella, right? So Facebook, for example, which is how we all started, right? Facebook, I think, debuted in 2004, kind of like Gmail to a limited audience, and you maybe got an invite before it went public. I think in 2005, 2006, correct me if I've got the dates wrong, but it was like early 21st century, and then it became ubiquitous, right? By the end of the first decade. But if you look at some of the analytics and some of the data analysis of how people consume information and where they go to get information, going to a news website, for example, which something we may have done, or even before that, reading a newspaper, right? Newspapers have gone the way of the dodo. You maybe go to the website to consume it. That's gone down. So it's how do they consume information? And maybe, circa 2008 to 2014, Facebook was at its peak. Facebook is not at its peak. It's TikTok. It seems to be the number one platform. Instagram, which is why Facebook bought Instagram, right? Again, videos, how that data is consumed, and then YouTube. So it's the menu of options under that umbrella that's changing. And who knows what tomorrow is going to bring. Blue Sky, yes, it was launched, I think, 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, but it really only took off in the last 18 months, right? As more and more people maybe fled X, which is what Twitter became, and went to looking for something else. So it's these tools that are changing so quickly.
That makes me feel better because PPA actually has a YouTube channel.
Mm.
So at
So
least we're in the category of a video.
absolutely, Alan. And I think, one thing, well, again, it depends when you say, what should PPA do? It depends on what your goals are. If the goal is to just get this kind of discussion, awareness, and ideas permeated across larger audience, then I would, for example, and this is a great example for you to play and to see how do I do this. Take the long form video that Zoom will provide. Use Opus clips. You don't pay for it. Just do the free video or the free option, and you'll upload the video. And then it'll ask you, do you want a 60-second, 30-second, 90-second? You can play with those parameters to give you clips. Now, the vanilla parameters, like just the baseline default values, is what I started with, and they're pretty good. Because what it'll do is it'll split out something like 10 different segments of the duration that you've specified, say 60 seconds. And it'll rank it depending on the content, the visuals, the different parameters that you've specified, or the default parameters that it comes with. And then you could put those little clips on your YouTube, right? I wouldn't put the whole video. You could, because it's already on your website, but maybe you put the 60-second, and then the description, the caption is driving the audience to your website, right? To watch the full video. But at least having even the small 60-second clips is enough to at least kind of whet an appetite or spur a discussion that they may have comments on YouTube. So, that's a great model. And the reason why I'm suggesting, an AI tool, again, I'm not getting paid. I have no stock. I don't even know if it's an open or a public company. It's just a tool I found and a tool I used, and it was easy. And so I think try that. So if you tell me a little bit more about what the goals are, maybe it's just communicating science. Maybe that's what you want to do as PPA?
Well, I can't speak for PPA, but one is to just have a comprehensive membership from the planetariums in our state, actually.
Right. So
But
then it's
that's a
getting,
different goal. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And that kind of is still old school, right? Because you have that list. You know what the different planetariums that are in your region that aren't PPA members. So maybe, and I'm sure you've done this, you've contacted them, emailed them, wrote letters, et cetera, and they haven't seen the utility or haven't, taken advantage of the invitation. But so this is maybe a strategy then to put it on YouTube and Reels and blah, 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 these short little pieces, because then they can see, oh, if I pay, I can attend. And if I attend, I can learn. Now I get something value back, right? That could be an example. I don't even know. Do they pay to join PPA?
$15 a year.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. What is that? 2 coffees nowadays? 3 coffees? Sorry. Rosemary?
So, with respect to the short videos, I know when you go on YouTube, there's something called shorts. Is there some way that you label something as a short, or does it just figure out if it's short? It calls it a short instead of
It looks at
regular
the length.
videos.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead. Finish your
No,
thought.
that's it.
Oh, so it looks at the length of the video that you've uploaded, right? So if you uploaded this video, which is now at 80 minutes, it's not going to give you that option of shorts because it's a long duration. So it will just post to your channel. And again, it's somewhat akin to Facebook. That's fine. That's good when you post on Facebook on your feed. It may get seen, it may not. Posting on your YouTube channel, it may get seen, it may not. Right. So even if you put the long form, you do want the short because that's going to go to the YouTube shorts, as you mentioned, the equivalent of Instagram Reels, the equivalent of TikTok. And you could drive then audiences to the long form on YouTube or the website. That's up to you. So this is why you want to do both.
Okay. And so on YouTube, when you're doing the uploading, there's an option
Yes.
there to
Yes.
check for
Right.
social.
Yep.
The other thing I just wanted to mention is that high leverage is from relationships
Yes.
because, like, an organization I was working with was thinking of starting an Instagram, but it's really hard to get the audience there. But if you
Yeah.
can get someone who's compatible to your goals to put that on their Instagram or TikTok or whatever, then that's a way of boosting it. And also, it just like we sometimes work with the public library, and if we can get on their distribution,
Hmm.
however they
Hmm.
do it, then that
Right.
can give new audiences. So
That's
kind of like,
exactly That's
yeah,
exactly right. There's no one strategy. Like I said, somewhere in there, there's that top-down approach. There's a ground bottom-up approach. So you kind of have to do a little bit of both to build that audience. Because once you've got an audience, then you can curate and cultivate it, right? And expand. But if you're still trying to build it, then it's how do I build it?
yeah.
Right? How do I and then grow it? And so you're right. I think partnerships is the first place. So if you're partnering with the local library, if you're partnering with another organization, say you're doing a star party, maybe with a local astronomy club, and that's exactly right. You leverage those relationships. What does that mean? It means when you create a video, you create a post, you create something, you ask them to share it to their network, and that's the way the message gets amplified in a way that is not pay to play, right? Because you're leveraging the folks that have access and they're sharing it. And just to follow up on the question you asked, Rosemary, it may have been obvious, but sometimes it's not, right? But when you create a short little video segment, 30 to 90 seconds, and yes, you can upload it to YouTube Shorts, but you've got a short clip. That short clip can be uploaded to Instagram Reels and to TikTok. And so then the question, well, now I have to do this 3 times. One of the things we didn't talk about is there's other tools that can manage your social media platform. So you just upload it as one thing and it goes to 6, 7, whatever platforms you have. So you just do it once. That would be like a second workshop. But this also comes back to this point is that this landscape is so disparate and diverse and so much um, that it's just too much, I think, for any one person to have a whole grasp of.
So does anybody else have anything they want to add or ask?
And I'll say that, oftentimes, like learned, I saw Jason, you unmute yourself. Thank you. That oftentimes it's, you need time to think. You need time to reflect. And that's where it comes back to having a forum where you can continue the conversation. That's what the teachers were telling us, right? Or when they go to implement it with their students in their classroom, something comes up, they want to talk about it. So that's where the Discord or Slack or some other forum really shines, is that allows you to continue the conversation and then other participants can say, oh, that's a great point. I tried this in response. And then you get to leverage the expertise of your community. Jason?
I just wanted to say thank you.
Oh, thank you.
I also I use Tactic AI to transcribe all of my video calls, so I'm going to share
Excellent.
that with Alan because I had Sarah ask me for it, and if he could send it out to everybody who participated today, or he wants to post it, I'll get that to him. So thank you.
Oh, you're more than welcome. Thank you for participating and joining.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, this is the real challenge, is that what's modern today is not going to be modern a year from now, right? Like you said it a couple of times. It's just ridiculous. Kind of feel like the old man, get off my lawn, right? Get off my grass. Is like I was happy back in the Stone Age where we just used stones or papyrus, I suppose.
Alan, you're muted.
I think it's safe to stop the recording now.
Yeah.
But before we do that, another big thanks, Shanil. This was really, really a good seminar. Amazing. Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. Thank you. And if you want this to be an annual thing, because again, these things change and that allows me to tune it for better for the next time. I'm happy to do that too.
Yeah, well, the rate of change is maybe it needs to be monthly, but I'm afraid it can't be.
Well, this is where I'm going to ask you to tell your IPS folks that we need
Right.
this subcommittee.
Okay. Well, I'm going to say bye. Stop the recording.